Hello and welcome. You're tuned into CNBC-TV18 Prime. Let's get cracking on a brand new edition of The Big C. I'm Manisha Gupta and with me is Nigel Dsouza, back with your daily dose of commodities, currencies and cryptos. But what do we have today, Nigel?
Well, we've got plenty and it's lots that we're looking forward to in this week itself. So for the time being, let's run you through the couple of experts that we have on the show. We'll be reviewing the crypto space. We'll take stock of the news flow with Kashif Raza of Bitinning. While we'll also talk all things precious metals. Monal Thakkar of Ashoka Global will be joining in. So that's just a bit. But before we take stock of all the commodity and crypto action, well, let's give you a quick check on the global equity markets. Wall Street, well, is coming off a winning week for the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, both of which continue to notch up all-time highs. The S&P 500 ended the week higher by around 0.6%, while you had the Nasdaq that climbed 1.5%. The Dow, well, it ended the week slightly lower. Meanwhile, stock futures, well, they're in the green as the street awaits a slew of tech earnings this week. A major boost for markets is expected if Alphabet and Tesla, both of them, manage to beat the earnings estimates. We'll also keep an eye out on commentary coming in from Fed Chair Powell during the course of the week. Stocks in Asia Pacific, though, they are trading mixed. The Japanese Nikkei, well, that's in the red, down 0.2%. The Shanghai, however, is up and about with gains of nearly around 0.7%. Positive commentary with regard to the revival of the Chinese economy. That's what's aided sentiment on the Chinese markets. And that's why you have a lot of base metal prices as well that are doing today. Back home, the Nifty, well, it's facing resistance at higher levels. So it's recovered considerably from the low point of the day, trading above that 25,000 odd mark.
Well, from equities to commodities then, and shifting focus to crude oil prices, well, it's trading steady as the street digests the impact of new European sanctions on Russian oil supply. While it's worrying about the tariffs possibly weakening fuel demand as West Asian producers are raising output, meanwhile, if you look at the dollar index, well, that's managed to clinch around those modest gains after last week's decline. We have seen the Japanese yen, however, gaining versus the greenback after the country's ruling party's historic defeat in the upper house elections. A popular safe haven, the yen has been on a downtrend for the last 2 weeks leading up to these elections there. But moving on, as promised, we will talk about the crypto markets right now. And joining us is Kashif Raza. He's founder at Bitinning. Kashif, thank you so much for joining in. Well, the crypto week is done and dusted, and we've seen a couple of bills passed by the Senate, awaiting the U.S. president to sign them. But what the U.S. president definitely has signed is the Genius Bill. Now, we do understand that this is going to be very supportive for stable coins, especially the USDT. How are you looking at the U.S. economy now as we see the dollar and the Treasury bill demand expected to increase going forward?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Manisha. So some people are predicting it seeing it as a master stroke by Donald Trump. Somewhere Donald Trump is seeing stablecoin as the savior for US government, because what is happening today is stablecoin market is already 261 billion US dollar. And Citigroup expects it to grow by, say, 3.5 trillion US dollar by 2030. Now imagine all these stablecoin needs to have something in backing. So whatever token they are issuing, they need to have an equivalent amount of US treasuries and US dollar at the backing. So these stable coins are expected to buy US treasuries and US bonds, and they're going to support the US government in a sense. Now, suddenly, US is saying that, okay, let China dump my US treasury, let Russia or other countries who are planning to dump my treasuries, that's fine. My own companies are here now to buy my treasuries. So stable coins, they're finding it a savior in it. And now for the first time, US dollar has got a WhatsApp moment. It's like if you can send messages and text on a click of a button, now you can suddenly, the dollar has got a wings. Everybody, can send dollar on internet. It's like a WhatsApp moment for it. And they're finding it that tomorrow, imagine 8 billion people on planet having an internet connection and mobile phone will have an access to US dollar. So some people are saying that, US is really going for these stable coins. Many companies will jump into it. Genius Act has already provided a lot of clarity. And now more and more company will get into the stable coin business. And that is the reason Donald Trump has also followed up with one another act that he's planning to get on board is the anti-CBDC Act, at
Correct.
where the Federal Reserve is not allowed to issue CBDC, and they are going to support stable coins going forward.
Oh, absolutely. There is clarity, there is genius, there is anti-CBDC bill as well. But Kashif, as you mentioned, this will give wings to the dollar. And as you called it, as a masterstroke coming in from the US president, does this also in some sense work to deter, other alternate currencies, BRICS for sure? Do you think that's a step in that direction also?
So yeah, the countries were planning to have an alternative to the existing, dollar system, because obviously in Ukraine-Russia war, for the first time, when the Russian, investments were seized, by the U.S. government, all those billionaires, Russian billionaires, the Russian government was invested in U.S. treasuries, and when they were seized, close to 250, 300 billion US dollar. So that was like kind of a wake-up call, and everybody was trying to get an alternative for a U.S. Monetary system and the U.S. world reserve currencies. And time and again, Trump has issued statements against BRICS also. He has said that if BRICS will do something that is going to deter or that is against the U.S. interest or U.S. dollar, he will put a tariff onto it. So somewhere, as every country was trying to come up with some kind of a solution, suddenly US has found a savior in stable coins. And obviously it is going to help US government, Federal Reserve, because now suddenly you have a new buyer for US dollar. Earlier, an access to US dollar was not easy because it's highly regulated to get into US dollar. Like in many countries do not have an access to US markets. Now you have this stable coins that will provide an access to entire planet with an internet and smartphones. So yeah, it is going to make dollar more stronger going forward.
All right, interesting view out there. Hi, Kashif, good to have you on the show. Well, if you could give us in terms of preference on the crypto space, what do you think, what are you most bullish on? We've already seen that this asset class, well, it's not for the faint-hearted. And when it moves, it really moves, like a rocket. And that's what we've seen, particularly with the Bitcoin, which is most tracked. Your view, levels you're looking at, which asset from the crypto universe itself you're fairly bullish on?
Yeah, if you see, still there is, I don't know why there is an apprehension for this asset class. Bitcoin, for the asset, if I have to give you a number, it's already sixth biggest asset class in terms of market cap. It is bigger than Google, for example, right? And recently it took over Amazon. So Bitcoin is such a huge asset class today, and crypto market in overall is like close to $4 trillion US. It is like close to, it is equivalent to Nvidia, right? And what is happening today in US and particularly around the world, what is happening that more and more public limited companies and entities are entering into it. They're buying it as a treasury. Like just to give you an example, 273 entities today hold 3.454 million BTC. So that is close to 16% of the total Bitcoin supply is held by 273 entities. Like just to give you a perspective, 44 Bitcoin ETF companies and funds hold 1.4 million BTC, and 154 public listed companies hold 8.6 lakh BTC. So what is happening that as now you have a Bitcoin professor in the form of Donald Trump, suddenly they are saying that, okay, the most powerful person in the world is vocal about it. Even today morning, he posted a Bitcoin explanatory video on his social media platform, which was explaining Bitcoin. So suddenly, with the intent, with the actions, this asset class is booming. And since you are a macro guy, you must be aware that the M2 money supply is going. So the liquidity is growing overall. Right. So once the M2 money supplies grows in the market, in the global markets, more and more liquidity is increasing. And it is happening when the US has not done a rate cut. Imagine when US will do a rate cut, what will happen to the M2 global money supply? When M2 money supply increases, all these stocks, S&P 500, crypto, gold, everything, grows. So I think going forward, this asset class has still a lot of scope, as we have not even started, because most of the people, even if you see your uncle, your aunt, your friends, and when you talk about Bitcoin, they still say, oh, no. So that is the first, that thing has to break down. And I'm sure more and more people are getting aware about it.
Oh, they are, Kashif, yes. And, there have been various reports as well. And if you could really quantify this, which says that while for the last 2 years, India was the largest growing market and a second in the global markets as well, how would you look at the last 12 months? One, we still are awaiting that report. Chain analysis is what I follow as well. Having said that, there are more reports suggesting that India's rich are perhaps not investing so much more in gold now, but in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And while institutional buying, I'm not too sure of, but when it comes to HNIs, family houses definitely seem to be looking at this asset class very, very keenly and with interest. Is there some way to really quantify this?
Yeah. So what is happening is like these HNIs are having friends in US or European countries. Now they are in continuous touch with them, as we most of us are. Now, when they compare their rate of returns with their counterparts or friends who are living in US, for example, and the way they are investing it. So in US, people are taking the regulated way of investing in Bitcoin. So now there you have Bitcoin ETF for retail and institution to take exposure in this asset class. Now people are putting in their some portfolio into it and they're getting good returns. Now imagine their friends and counterparts and partners who are based out of India and who are sitting at the borderline are seeing this industry grow. Like 5 years back or 6 years back, they were at the borderline, sitting at this and looking at this industry to fall or waiting for this industry to, somehow get a lot of correction. And they say, no, everybody was right. This was just a, Ponzi, or this was just, as this didn't had any intrinsic value, and we were right. No. So for the 5-6 years, they've been waiting at the borderline, seeing at this industry. Now this industry has grown to $4 trillion US, and now suddenly they're saying, oh my God, the bull market is still here and I was waiting. My friends are making money. Let me also get into it. There was this recent report by one of the credible news outlet that said that in July month, for the first 15 days, there has been a 30% spike in HNIs who are trading in crypto. So they're kind of shifting their money from gold and moving it toward crypto. And a lot of founders of crypto exchanges, when I talk to them, they are saying that there has been a substantial increase in the number of accounts being opened by HNIs. So I'm sure the interest in this space is growing.
Kashif, the other one really is about the kind of numbers that we're looking in sense of frauds and cyber hacks as well. Last year was all about WazirX, and over the weekend we've talked about CoinDCX. The number is smaller, and CoinDCX does tell us and the media that they've isolated this, the investor's amount or account has not been touched, etc. But this really seems to be growing right now, right? Because when you're looking at the number in the first half of this year itself, this is a record perhaps. Market's talking about $4 billion onto this one. On one side, while people are investing, on the other side, these kind of news and reports and hacks and frauds and rag pulls perhaps is deterring, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is deterring. It is deterring. It is demoralizing. It makes you feel worried for anyone when once you recommend them, then that you can start your journey from this exchange, and suddenly that exchange gets hacked 1 year down the line or 6 months later once you recommend it. Obviously, it's a worry for everyone. But I'm sure as the technology grows, as the industry grows, the hackers also have the incentive to attack this industry more. Now imagine a hacker who has been trying to hack an exchange for a year. The incentive is very high. He knows that if out of 1,000 attempts, suppose if he's able to crack it once, the outcome, the incentive is very high. So more and more hackers are obviously hacking, trying to have an hacking attempt on all the blockchains and crypto exchanges and stuff like that. But you know what, in India, I tell you how we can start with it. As a lawmaker, first try to make it clear that Bitcoin and crypto is a digital property. We already have property laws in India, very clear property laws for IP, for various properties, for gold, for immovable, movable, tangible, intangible. We have one of the most comprehensive property laws in the world, by the way. Now, just include Bitcoin and crypto as a digital property. Once you term this asset class as a digital property, what will happen? The insurer will come, insurance companies will come and say, hey, now it is a property, it is covered under the property laws. I'm going to cover this for you. You pay me insurance. Now, since you do not have a clarity, you have not described it under the law, why insurance company is going to come and give you this much of insurance or make your business safe? Now in IP or gold or any other asset class or any property, you have insurance.
Right.
In this industry, you don't have insurance. So probably that is the one thing. Lawmaker also have the opportunity here to make it safe. Number one. Number two, Manisha, as this industry is growing, big exchanges who are based outside, any which ways Indians are going and trading on them. Why not to allow setting up an Indian entity, by the way, that you need to create an Indian entity, set up your base here, set up your compliance officer here, and you can start your operation. These big exchanges have deep pockets. Recently, there were hacks on these foreign exchanges. Those who have really grown in big in size, they were able to mete out 1.6 billion US dollar worth of hack within hours because they have so much of deep pockets and liquidity. Now, if somebody if suppose an Indian exchange gets under an attack, it is very difficult to put it their own money or from where they'll get this money. Today it was 44 million, but suppose tomorrow it is 1 billion. Then what will happen? Right? So
Sure.
I think here you have an opportunity as a lawmaker also, and allow these foreign exchanges to set up a business entity or allow an FDI to enter into Indian crypto exchanges. What will happen? They will bring two things. They will bring, number one, capital, and
Yeah.
number two, they will bring expertise. Right? So I think everybody need to sit together and figure out a way out, because every crisis, every problem has an opportunity for all of us
To
to
come
figure
to
out
a
a way out to make
solution.
this, to come up with a
Absolutely.
solution.
Absolutely, Kashif. There are two things I take away from this. One, you interestingly said that the digital assets should be digital property. You didn't say currency and commodity. I mean, that is something that the lawmakers have been fighting in for some time. But that's an interesting and important one. And well, yes, if the insurers come in, then all these hacks, etc., would be covered. And there's more credibility and more support really coming in for the Indian markets there. But thank you so much for that conversation, and appreciate your time as well, Kashif. With that, it's time for a very short breather on the show. On the other side, we will be joined by Monal Thakkar of Ashoka Global to get a perspective on the precious metal space. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Well, let's welcome Monal Thakkar, MD Ashoka Global, who joins us on the show. Hi, Monal. Thanks a lot for joining in. Well, all that glitters is gold, but in the last 6 months, silver has sprung a surprise because that one is on its way to around $40. So recency bias tells you that silver actually has outperformed. What's your take in terms of a price outlook for both these two assets?
Well, silver is always the first law. I said even the last time. Well, the silver still I am looking is a higher side. I'm seeing around 44, 45, maybe in the next 6 months, because it's not outperform. I believe this is required, and this is what the price should be. That's what my meaning here is. The gold is in last 15 days, if you see that it's just in a zigzag consolidation period. And just because of the Mexico and Canada tariff war, I think the silver spread also increased. So leasing is increased, silver ETF inflow increased, and still the tariff war is on. So I think we are not yet done. Now the new thing is the Fed. So we have to see what Fed is going to do and what Mr. Trump is going to act on it.
Suddenly, all asset classes and everybody's lives depend on what Mr. Trump does. But Monal, while you have given us a sense on silver forecast from here, $44 to $45 is what you've said in 6 months. What is your sense on gold from here on? We've done all-time highs. We've seen that big surge come in for gold. Is gold waiting for more money flow, rotation, or do you think the money is now flowing in silver and Bitcoin and platinums of the world, and that is what is deterring gold's rise from here on? And how would you look at the prices now for the rest of 2025?
So, Manisha, the gold is in the consolidation period. If you see from 3,500 to 3,320 and 3,320 last 10 days, if you see 3,319 and 3,349 was the last week close. It's a consolidation period, and the demand still not that good across the board. Anywhere, if we talk Europe or Asia or per se India, it's still not that in good demand, or you can say in demand. I'm still, it is going to be a little bit of the consolidation is going to happen. Of course, the news can create anything which can bull the market or change the price on the bull side, which could be a first I see is 35.30, the new high. And post that in next 6 months, uh, other than the news, yes, it's going to be always in demand. The liquidity on the gold is little bit increase in the London, but still the metal lying in the US, which is creating a little bit shortage on the metal. If the demand comes in Asia, India, and other Middle Eastern zone, I don't think so. It's going to be a liquidity is enough for supplying the same.
Monal, you said 35-30 is what you see gold prices going up as. Do you see further gains onto this one, or do you think 3,500 or thereabouts is where it will see resistance?
No, I think that breakout will create another $100-$130 move, because if you see the inflation numbers has moved 2.7% other than the food and energy, which is high, and inflation tariff and the news will create another wave which can go up to 3,800. And as I said, we are seeing is $4,000 for sure.
All right. Monal, what about what kind of easing are you expecting from the Fed? The fear is that the tariffs start impacting inflation. Though on the flip side, I heard an expert earlier today who said that maybe gasoline prices have cooled off enough to offset some part of the negative impact on inflation. If that's the case, the Fed can continue with its rate cutting cycle. Are you in that camp, or do you think the Fed is done?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my view is different. My view is that it's still, I'm not seeing the cut anytime soon, and not at least in 2025. Of course, if something goes so south, and if we change Mr. Trump change something which create a change in it on the cut, but other than that, I'm not seeing any cut coming soon for not at least till December.
All right. So you're expecting then cuts to resume only in 2026?
Could be if the tariff war creates an inflation on the lower side, or at least on the stable side. First, if that happen, we can see maybe in the March 26.
Okay, all right. Be careful, Monal. I believe Trump is gunning for you now. He wants a cut. Monal, what's happening?
Yeah, Monal is going very, very against that. That doesn't work like that. People can get fired, Monal, when you make statements like that. Not in their own businesses, though, Nigel.
And you can definitely not be the next Fed chief.
All right, well, that aside, Monal, talk to us about platinum also, because higher highs onto this one as well. And as most people said that it can lead to some profit taking, we haven't seen that coming in. We've actually seen $1,400 an ounce hold on. With platinum demand, even for jewelry and the deficit, all that narrative working quite well for platinum, how would you look at those prices? A range, though, if for this year.
So basically, platinum is no. I don't see any jewelry demand in platinum as such. But I think yes, this is a one class which was left out. I think that's investor demand more on it. Of course, the swap or the spread is too high, around 18 to 20% on the leasing in London. So, but yes, the way the demand is copying up. You can say it's going to be again more rally, maybe $100-$150 from you.
So you're saying 1,500, 1,550 is the kind of level we could see on this?
Yes.
Monal, how about the Indian markets then? And, when we look at the first half of this year, hasn't been so strong when it comes to jewelry demand. Investment demand, yes, you mentioned about ETF buying, that has been supportive as well. What is your sense now for the second half? Well, yes, rate cuts is something that the street is looking at. Markets are looking at a good monsoon as well. The wedding season, the festival season, all of that starts to come in. Would that be supportive? Are you working with any number then for Indian demand?
Indian demand is a little bit subjective this year, looks like, because in last 6 months, if we see, we have not seen so much. I mean, not even a little bit of demand. But in the coming era, I think August and September, it's a wedding season. We expect some of the demand should come. Of course, the policy is the one big question in India right now. So we are looking further that maybe at this level, some demand should come, because the jewelry in the wedding season is always going to be creating a demand. So maybe August and September, but not unlikely last year. I don't see the same demand of the last year we can serve, or we can see in India.
Well, demand is not going to be supportive of the prices, which have continued to run up. And as Monal says, 45 for silver, 3,800 and 4,000 for gold, 1,500 for platinum. We still are looking at prices going much higher from here. Thank you so much, Monal, for joining in, giving us a sense on interest rates, prices, and of course, demand when it comes to precious metals. But with that, that's all the time that we have on this episode of Big C. Thank you from me and Nigel and the whole team that put the show together. Thank you for watching.